I would like to shout at Margot, Vandan, Dussel and Daddy too. Leave me in peace, let me sleep one night at least without my pillow being wet with tears.
Before seeing this episode, please subscribe to this channel because this channel will only grow if you subscribe. And then we can share better videos with you based on historical facts and true stories. Today we will be diving deep into one of the most poignant and powerful narratives from World War II, Annie Frank's diary. If you have ever wondered what it was for a young girl hiding from Nazis, this is the story you need to hear. Annie Frank was born on June 12, 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933, Annie's family, being Jewish, faced increasing persecution. Hitler's slogans was nationalism, superiority of Aryan race, and that Jews are responsible for the problems of Germany. Annie receives her diary as a birthday gift on her 13th birthday. Why does a young girl need to keep a diary? She herself replies the question.
And now I came to the root of the matter, the reason for me starting dairy. It is that I have no such a real friend. Let me put in more clearly, since no one will believe that a girl of 13 feels herself quite alone in the world, nor is it so. I have darling parents and sister of 16. I know about 30 people whom one might call friends. I have strings of boyfriends, anxious to catch a glimpse of me and who, failing that, peep at me through mirrors in class. I have relations, aunts, uncles who are darling too, a good home. No, I do not seem to lack anything. But it is the same with all my friends, just fun and joking, nothing more. Saturday, 20th June, 1942. I expect you will be rather surprised at the fact that I should talk of boyfriends at my age. Alice, one simply can't seem to avoid it at our school. As soon as a boy asks if he may bicycle home with me and we get into conversation, 9 out of 10 times I can be sure that he will fall head over heels in love immediately and simply won't allow me out of sight. After a while it cools down, of course, especially as I take little notice of ardent looks and pedal blithely on.
Frank was born into a loving and affluent family. Her father, Otto Frank, was a successful businessman, and her mother, Edith, was dedicated to caring for Annie and her older sister, Margaret. Growing up in Frankfurt, Annie had a happy early childhood filled with family gatherings, school, and play. However, the rise of Nazi regime in Germany brought drastic changes to their lives. The Franks, like many other Jewish families, faced increasing restrictions and discrimination under Hitler's rule. In 1933, when Annie was just 4 years old, the family decided to leave Germany to escape the escalating persecution. They moved to Amsterdam, where Otto Frank set up a new business and the family hoped to build a new life. In Amsterdam, Annie and Margaret attended school and made new friends. Annie was a lively and outgoing child known for her curiosity and spirited nature. She was popular among her classmates and enjoyed reading, writing, and playing with friends. Despite the difficulties they had faced in Germany, the Frank family managed to establish a semblance of normalcy in their new home. However, the shadow of Nazi aggression loomed large. In May 1940, the Nazis invaded the Netherlands, and the situation for Jews rapidly deteriorated. The German occupiers imposed harsh measures, stripping Jews of their rights and freedoms. Jews were required to register with the authorities, wear yellow stars, and were subjected to various forms of segregation and discrimination. As the persecution intensified, Otto Frank began to make plans for the family's safety. The idea of going into hiding took place as the only way to avoid deportation to concentration camps. The family prepared a secret annex behind Otto's business premises, gathering supplies and making necessary arrangements with trusted friends who would help them during their time in hiding. Annie's life before the annex was marked by a stark transition from a carefree childhood to harsh realities of war and persecution. going into hiding. The decision to go into hiding was a difficult and dangerous one, but for the Franks family, it was their only hope for survival. In July 1942, when Annie's sister Margaret received a summons to report for a so-called work camp, the family knew they had to act quickly. The summons was a prelude to deportation to a concentration camp, and ignoring it meant risking arrest and worse.
Wednesday, 8 July 1942. When we were alone together in our bedroom, Margot told me that call-up notice was not for Daddy but for her. I was more frightened than ever and began to cry. Margot is 16. Will they really take girls of her age alone? But thank goodness she won't go, Mummy said to herself. That must be what Daddy meant when he talked about us going into hiding.
On July 6, 1942, the Frank family moved into secret hiding place, the secret annex, located behind Otto Frank's business premises at 263 Prinsgracht in Amsterdam. The annex was a concealed space that had been meticulously prepared for their extended stay. The entrance to the annex was hidden behind a movable bookcase, providing a crucial layer of secrecy and protection. The annex consisted of several small rooms, including a common area, bedroom, a bathroom, and a small kitchen. It was a cramped and claustrophobic space, especially for the 8 people who would eventually share it. Alongside the Frank family were Hermann and August Van Pels, their son Peter, and later Fritz Pfeffer, a dentist, joined. The inhabitants had to adhere to strict rules to avoid detection, including remaining silent during the day to avoid being heard by the workers in the building below. Annie writes candidly about the disagreements and misunderstandings that occurred, particularly between her and the adults in the annex. Her relationship with her mother was particularly strained.
Saturday, 30th January 1943. I am boiling with rage and yet I must not show it. I had liked to stamp my feet, scream, give Mummy a good shaking, cry, and I don't know what else because of the horrible words, mocking looks and accusations which are leveled at me repeatedly every day and find their mark like shafts from a tightly strung bow and which are as hard to draw from my body. I would like to shout at Margot, Van Dan, Dussel and Daddy too, leave me in peace, let me sleep one night at least without my pillow being wet with tears. Tuesday, 7th March 1944. Now I look back at that and as an amusing but very superficial girl who has nothing to do with an of today. Peter said quite rightly about me, if ever I saw you, you were always surrounded with 2 or more boys and a whole troop of girls. You were always laughing and always the center of everything. What is left of this girl? Oh, do not worry, I have not forgotten how to laugh or to answer back readily. I am just as good, if not better, at criticizing people and I can still flirt if I wish. That's not enough, I had liked that sort of life again for an evening, a few days, or even a week, the life which seems so carefree and gay. But at the end of that week, I should be dead beat and would be only thankful to listen to anyone who began to talk about something sensible. I do not want followers but friends, admirers who fall not for a flattering smile but for what one does and for one's character.
Annie's reflections on her relationships with the other inhabitants of the annex reveal her growing awareness of the complexities of the human nature. She writes about the tensions and conflicts, but also about the moments of connection and understanding. Her relationship with Peter Van Pels, in particular, evolves from one of indifference to a deep friendship and romantic interest. Through her interactions with Peter, Annie explores her own feelings of love, longing, and the desire for companionship. As the war dragged on and the situation in the annex became increasingly dire, Annie's reflections took on a more philosophical tone. She wrote about her hopes for the future, her belief in the goodness of the people, and her dreams of becoming a writer. Despite the constant fear and uncertainty, Annie maintained a remarkable sense of optimism and faith in humanity.
Tuesday, 6 June 1944. Oh, Kitty, the best part of the invasion is that I have the feeling that friends are approaching. We have been oppressed by those terrible Germans for so long, they have had their knives at our throats, that the thought of friends and delivery fills us with confidence. Now it does not concern the Jews anymore. No, it concerns Holland and all occupied Europe. Perhaps, Margot says, I may yet be able to go back to school in September or October.
She writes about the radio broadcasts they listened to eagerly, seeking news about the progress of the war and the fate of the Jews. These broadcasts were a vital link to the outside world, providing both information and hope. On August 4, 1944, following input by a warehouse employee, the German army penetrated into the annex and arrested 8 occupants along with their 2 helpers, Mr. Koffes and Mr. Krehler. They were deported to concentration camps in Poland by freight train. In October 1944, Annie Margaret and Miss Van Den were among the youngest and the strongest women selected to be moved to Belsen, Germany. But rebels and typhus raged and their hope for survival was dead. Margaret died in March 1945. Annie, who was already sick, was not informed of her sister's death. She died peacefully, feeling nothing bad was happening to her. She was just 16. Peter died on May 5, 1945. Otto Frank survived and was rescued by the Russian army. In 1945, when war ended, Otto Frank returned to Amsterdam. Maeve and Allie, who had helped them with supplies at Annex, gave him the notebook in Annie's handwriting. The diary was first published in 1947, 2 years after Annie's death, in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camps. Otto Frank, the only surviving member of the family, fulfilled the daughter's wish to become a writer by ensuring her diary reached the public. Since its publication, the diary of the young girl has been translated into more than 70 languages and has touched millions of readers worldwide. It serves as a powerful reminder of the horrors of war and the resilience of the human spirit.